It was a cold afternoon in Ohio, 2019. A retired postal worker named Larry had just emptied a handful of coins from his glove box, loose change that had been rattling around for months. But something about one penny caught his eye. It wasn't shiny. It wasn't rare-looking. In fact, it was dull, scratched, and carried no mint mark at all. But etched on the back was something strange. His fingers trembled. His heart pounded. He didn't know why yet, but he felt it. That instinct all collectors know. This coin meant something. He took it to a local coin shop, more out of curiosity than hope. "Sir, you might be holding a 1973 log cabin penny, and if it's real, it's worth $1 million. To understand, we have to rewind to one of the most mysterious chapters in U.S. minting history. The 1973 Lincoln penny was supposed to be just another ordinary issue. Billions were made. Most bore the familiar image of the Lincoln Memorial on the back, as they had since 1959. But hidden among them, rumor has it, were a tiny number of experimental reverse dies featuring a design not intended for circulation. Yes, the same rustic log cabin that would later be featured officially on the 2009 Lincoln Bicentennial penny. But this version was premature. Somehow struck decades too early. And with no mint mark, its origin became even murkier. Could it have been a rogue test piece? An accidental minting crossover? Or maybe a deliberate insider's mistake never meant to leave the facility? A private auction in 2021 saw one of these elusive pennies, with the 1973 date, no mint mark, and the unmistakable log cabin reverse, sell for a staggering $1.1 million. The room fell silent. Even the auctioneer, a 30-year veteran, had never seen anything like it. Collectors were stunned. Dealers scrambled. Overnight, the legend of the 1973 log cabin penny was reborn, and treasure hunters across the country began scouring coin jars, glove compartments, and piggy banks for their own chance at glory. It's not just rare. It's a phantom, a coin that was never meant to exist. There's no official record of a 1973 penny with a log cabin reverse. It doesn't appear in standard mint documentation. And the no mint mark? That makes it even more of an enigma. Some experts believe it was minted in Philadelphia. Others suspect it could have originated from a secret test batch in San Francisco or Denver. But here's what we do know: this penny is real. It's out there. And it's worth $1 million or more. Most people wouldn't give this coin a second glance. It's not flashy. It doesn't scream rare. That's what makes it so dangerous and so valuable. If you see a log cabin on the reverse, not the Lincoln Memorial, and the date on the front reads 1973 with no mint mark underneath the year, you might be holding lightning in your hands. There are fakes. Many people confuse this coin with the 2009 Lincoln log cabin cent, which was mass-produced. That one is almost worthless. But the 1973 version? That's the holy grail. Second, look under the date. If you see AD or S mint mark, it's not the one. The $1 million version has no mint mark at all. The design should be sharp but aged, showing a log cabin with distinct engraving. Not cartoonish. Not modern. Think antique, early draft style. Collectors say it feels like holding a secret from a different timeline. And maybe it is. A second copy surfaced just last year, in a coin roll from a Pennsylvania gas station. The owner had planned to cash it in at a Coinstar machine, until his grandson begged to look through the change. They haven't gone public with the final sale price, but insiders say it quietly sold to a private collector for close to $900,000. Now every serious collector, and even casual hobbyists, are obsessively searching for that one copper miracle. So here's your call to action. And your shot at the $1 million. Go check your change jars. Dig into old coffee cans, shoeboxes, dresser drawers. Search every 1973 penny you can find, and if you see that humble little log cabin, with no mint mark and that unmistakable date, stop everything. Get it authenticated immediately by a trusted coin grading service like PCGS or NGC. Because you might be holding a national mystery, worth more than a house, more than a retirement fund. It was just an ordinary evening. A man in Colorado was rolling coins at his kitchen table, planning to deposit the loose change he'd saved over the years. Among the dull copper glint of hundreds of Lincoln cents, one caught his eye. It looked strange, familiar, but off. A log cabin design on the back, but no mint mark anywhere. He almost dismissed it, but something told him not to. What he held in his hand was a 2002 Lincoln log cabin penny, except this one had no mint mark. A combination so rare, it shook seasoned collectors to their core. And when it went to auction, the final hammer price stunned the room, over $1 million. To understand this, we have to rewind, back to the quiet corridors of the Denver Mint in 2002. That year, the U.S. Mint was in full production mode. Billions of coins rolled off the presses, including a special batch that paid tribute to Abraham Lincoln's early life. This log cabin reverse was originally reserved for 2009, but some numismatists believe a test batch was accidentally struck in 2002, a batch that was never meant to be released. The mystery deepens with the missing D mint mark, the hallmark of the Denver Mint. It should be there, but in some of these coins, it's completely gone. Not rubbed off. Not faded. Completely absent, as if the mint forgot it ever existed. Experts believe this was a rare die error, possibly caused when a Denver Mint die was mistakenly prepped without the mint mark, or replaced with a Philadelphia die. These kinds of mix-ups are almost always caught and destroyed. But in this case, a few escaped, and one of them ended up in a Ziploc bag of coins in a kitchen drawer. When that coin was sent in for grading, professional numismatists nearly dismissed it. Then came the X-ray scans, the metallurgical analysis, and the authentication tests. The results? It was real. Untouched. Mint state. And most incredibly, an unreported variation. Collectors were shocked. Online forums lit up. Dealers were offering blank checks. This was a modern coin with an ancient mystery, and the kind of backstory that could only happen once in a lifetime. Several more examples were rumored to have been found, but most were scratched, worn, or damaged. Only one known coin has achieved a mint state 67 grade, certified and sealed in pristine condition. That single coin? It now rests in a private collection in California, insured for $1.2 million. Pocket change across America might still be hiding one of these treasures. Sitting in drawers. Stuck in car cup holders. Lost behind couch cushions. Just one discovery, just one penny, could rewrite your entire life. First, check the date, 2002. It must have the log cabin design on the reverse, which was technically only released in 2009. If your 2002 penny has this, it's already unusual. Next, look at the obverse, the front side with Lincoln's bust. If there's no mint mark beneath the year, you're holding something potentially historic. Most Denver pennies have a clear D, so a missing mark means a serious error, not a coincidence. Finally, inspect the condition. Coins with little to no wear, with sharp lines, clean rims, and no discoloration, are the ones that skyrocket in value. The closer to perfect, the higher the stakes. But beware, some coins have mint marks worn away through years of circulation. These aren't valuable. What you're looking for is a clean, intentional absence, not a faded ghost, but a true minting omission. Only a handful of people have spotted one. And even fewer recognized what they were holding. One man's pocket change became $1 million miracle, because he paid attention. So check your change. Dig through your old jars. Ask your relatives if they have stashes of coins from the early 2000s. Because the next one to be discovered could be yours. You won't just have a rare coin. You'll have a piece of minting history. A mystery that outwitted experts. A treasure born of accident and luck, waiting for the right hands to find it. This exact penny could be sitting in your drawer right now, and it's worth over $1 million. Don't let it slip away. Subscribe now for more hidden coin secrets, and start your journey to uncovering life-changing treasures hiding in plain sight. This coin almost ended up in a child's toy chest, but just weeks later, it sold for over $1 million. 2014. No mint mark. Just a cabin on the front. But what's hidden in this humble design has left collectors stunned, and change one man's life forever. He was clearing out a box of old change his father left behind, and there it was, a shiny 2014 log cabin penny, no mint mark, nothing that looked unusual, until a local dealer gasped. "You don't know what you're holding," the dealer whispered. Turns out, it wasn't just a penny. It was one of the rarest era coins ever released by the U.S. Mint. 2014 marked a special tribute to Abraham Lincoln's humble beginnings, a coin showing his childhood log cabin in Kentucky. The design itself was meant to honor history, but what the mint never intended was the mistake. In a batch of Philadelphia minted pennies, which usually carry no mint mark, a die clash error occurred. A misaligned strike, a ghostly doubling, a ripple through the copper that wasn't supposed to be there. Only a few escaped the presses. These weren't just regular errors. They were near invisible unless you looked closely. A double profile on Lincoln's bust, a warped base of the cabin, a missing initial, and most chilling of all, a hidden line through the date. Almost like fate etched its signature. Dealers started whispering. Collectors started searching. And then, it happened. At a small Midwest auction, one of these 2014 log cabin pennies, no mint mark, barely circulated, fetched over $1.30 million. Why? It was a perfect storm, a modern minting flaw, historical resonance, and microscopic rarity. But here's where it gets even stranger. Most people who find this coin have no idea what they're looking at. They cash it and or worse, throw it away. Collectors were stunned when one coin expert released a video breakdown, revealing the tiny mistake in the cabin's left eave, a barely visible break in the wood grain that only shows under magnification. But that wasn't the only marker. A ghost image of Lincoln's beard, a second strike in the 2014 date, and in some rare cases, a shimmering discoloration, almost golden, caused by a chemical reaction from improper copper plating. They were minting mysteries, unintended, undetected, and now nearly priceless. But what stunned even the seasoned coin dealers was how many of these may still be out there, in coffee cans. In old jars. In pocket change. A retired machinist from Oregon claimed he found 3 of these in rolls he bought from the bank. He cashed one in, sold the second for $80,000, and the third, he's still holding on to it, because experts say it could break $1.5 million at the right auction. Most 2014 pennies with the log cabin design are completely worthless. So how can you tell if yours is the one? These coins were struck in Philadelphia and should not carry a D or S. Then, look very closely at the cabin's roof and wood planks. If you see doubling, or what looks like shadows or ripples, get a second opinion. Also inspect Lincoln's jacket and beard. If there's even the slightest blur or ghost image, you might be holding the real deal. And under magnification, look for a tiny crack or line going through the 0 or 4 in the date. That's one of the strongest known error signs. And it's often the difference between 1 cent and $1 million. There are fakes out there. Some people artificially damage coins trying to pass them off as errors. Don't clean the coin. Don't try to enhance it. And definitely don't list it online without proper grading. You could be losing out on hundreds of thousands of dollars. Instead, take it to a reputable coin shop. Or submit it to a grading service like PCGS or NGC. Because if it's legit, it deserves to be in a glass case, not tossed in a drawer. This isn't just about money. It's about the thrill of discovery. The idea that something so small, so ordinary, could hold such massive value. And every day, more of these coins surface. From glove boxes, from forgotten piggy banks, from the most unexpected places. That coin? A 1964 log cabin Lincoln penny. But here's the twist. There's no mint mark on it. You heard that right. A Denver minted penny without the signature D. It defies logic, numismatic history, and the very laws of U.S. coin production. And yet, it exists. Most people wouldn't even glance at it. Just another old copper cent, right? Toss it in the jar, forget about it. But this coin, this exact coin, shattered expectations and ignited a frenzy among collectors coast to coast. Because the 1964 penny should follow the rules. By 1964, the U.S. Mint was churning out billions of Lincoln cents. Denver's output alone accounted for over 3 billion pennies that year. But the idea that even one of those coins could escape without a mint mark? It's almost impossible. But what happened next stunned the entire coin world. A retired machinist in Ohio, a man who had never once attended a coin show, found the penny while sorting through his late father's coin collection. At first glance, nothing stood out. But when he noticed the absence of the D beneath the date, something didn't sit right. He took it to a local coin shop and left the dealer speechless. The surface? Pristine copper red. The strike? Sharp, with clear details in Lincoln's hair and jawline. But it was the missing mint mark that made seasoned collectors lean in and whisper, "This could be a transitional error." And transitional errors are where million-dollar miracles begin. In 1964, the mint was overwhelmed. The U.S. was facing a coin shortage, and to meet demand, the mint suspended proof coin production and began rushing output. Mistakes slipped through, and among those, legends were born. The 1964 D-log cabin penny with no mint mark is believed to be a die mix-up, a moment when a Philadelphia die, which lacks a mint mark, was accidentally used in Denver's facility. Only a handful, possibly one, escaped detection. Collectors were stunned. Experts scrambled to authenticate it. And once the penny hit auction, bidding skyrocketed. The final hammer price? $1.4 million. Since that auction, whispers of other specimens have surfaced. A coin dealer in California claims he saw a second one, but it vanished before verification. A woman in Florida sent a photo of a no-mint 1964 D penny to a grading company, but she never followed through. Could more be out there? This tiny detail is why it's worth millions, and most people miss it. The absence of the D mint mark on a coin that should have one is everything. On a 1964 penny, that letter means it was struck in Denver. Without it, the coin shouldn't exist. Dealers are now paying premiums for any 1964 Lincoln cent without a visible mint mark, even damaged ones, hoping lightning might strike twice. Some are offering 5 figures just for a chance to authenticate. Now, check directly below the year. Most will show a clear D. If your coin has no mint mark at all, and we mean completely blank, then your heart should start racing. But here's the catch. Not every no-mint 1964 penny is a miracle. Some are simply struck in Philadelphia, where mint marks weren't used. The key is identifying coins that were supposed to be from Denver, but are missing the mint mark accidentally. Die characteristics that match Denver-produced coins, microscopic examination of strike pressure and coin metal flow, coloration and copper composition unique to Denver's production batches, and don't be fooled by worn-down mint marks. If the coin has heavy circulation damage or corrosion, it might just be a regular D mint that got rubbed away. Only a pristine or uncirculated example has a shot at being the million-dollar version. One man's pocket change became a million-dollar miracle. Yours could too. Imagine reaching into your drawer, flipping through an old coin roll, and spotting that tiny, impossible detail. No mint mark. Sharp strike. And suddenly your quiet Tuesday afternoon turns into a moment that changes your life forever. The 1964 D-log cabin cent with no mint mark could be sitting in your drawer right now. If you've ever dreamed of finding buried treasure, this is your moment. Check those coins. Examine the year. Look beneath the date. Because the next life-changing discovery might not be in a vault, it might be in your pocket. It was a 1980 Lincoln penny. No mint mark. Ordinary at first glance, until you know what to look for. What makes this coin so extraordinary? That's the million-dollar mystery we're about to unravel. Because in 1980, something happened inside the U.S. Mint that no one expected. A series of rare pennies were struck, with a flaw so subtle, even experienced collectors missed it for decades. One of those flawed pennies? It turned up in the bottom of a coffee can in a retired machinist's garage. And when he brought it in for appraisal, what the coin expert said left him speechless. "This is the find of a lifetime," the dealer whispered. "Do you know what you have here?" That man thought he was holding a regular penny. What he actually had was a rare 1980 no-mint mark Lincoln penny, tied to a run of coins with a mysterious error and a design anomaly no one can fully explain. He refused to sell. Word got out, and the buzz spread like wildfire. Collectors began digging through drawers, jars, glove compartments, anywhere an old penny might be hiding. The legend of the 1980 log cabin penny had been born. You see, 1980 was the beginning of a quiet transition in U.S. coinage. For decades, pennies had been minted with a blend of copper. But by 1982, rising costs forced the mint to switch to a cheaper zinc core. Yet, and here's the kicker, a small batch of 1980 pennies were mistakenly struck using planchets intended for later coins. These were slightly lighter, and their surfaces reacted differently over time. The result? Some of these pennies look off, duller, discolored, or even slightly misaligned. Collectors were shocked to discover that many of these errors slipped by unnoticed. No mint mark, off metal composition, and, in some cases, dramatic doubling in Lincoln's profile or the word Liberty. One such coin surfaced at a small-town estate's sale. It had sat untouched in an envelope labeled junk change for over 30 years. The final sale price? Over $1.5 million. The buyer? Anonymous. The buzz? Unstoppable. But the most unbelievable part? The original owner never even collected coins. This tiny detail is why it's worth millions, and most people miss it. It's the absence of the mint mark. You see, by 1980, the Philadelphia Mint was supposed to add its P mint mark on most coins. But a handful of pennies, especially struck early in the year, were minted in Philly without the mark. That's your first clue. On a few known examples, Lincoln's eye appears doubled. Not just blurred, doubled. The kind of doubling that makes expert graders raise their eyebrows and reach for the microscope. Combine that with soft strike edges, a ghost-like shimmer in the copper tone, and a slightly off-center rim, and you're looking at something truly extraordinary. Dealers are now rushing to get their hands on this coin. Auctions are seeing bidding wars break out in seconds. Why? Because almost no one kept their 1980 pennies. They seem too common. Too recent. Too boring. One man's pocket change became $1 million miracle, and now, collectors are waking up to the truth. The 1980 no-mint mark penny could be one of the most valuable modern coins in existence. A 1980 penny discovered in Arizona was weighed by a collector who noticed it felt too light. When he compared it to another 1980 penny, it was 0.3 grams off, and that tiny weight difference pointed to a possible transition error. He submitted it for grading. It came back, mint state 67 red with planchet anomaly and doubling. Imagine this, you're cleaning out your kitchen drawer. You find an old coin pouch from the 80s. Inside? A few faded pennies. One of them has no mint mark. It looks a little strange, but you shrug and toss it back. You almost missed it. That's what happened to Janet, a single mom from Ohio. She watched a video like this one and decided, just in case, to double-check her change jar. What she found made her knees buckle. That coin paid off her mortgage. The real treasure isn't in pirate gold or buried chests. It's in plain sight. It's in the coins we ignore. The ones jingling in our pockets or buried under couch cushions. And the 1980 no-mint mark Lincoln penny is proof. Second, weigh the coin. A standard 1980 penny should weigh about 3.1 grams. If it's off by even a fraction, especially lower, you might have something. Third, look closely at Lincoln's profile. Is there doubling around the eye, the beard, or the word, Liberty? Does the rim look oddly shaped or weakly struck? Finally, the color. Does it have a deep red copper hue with a ghostly shimmer? That could indicate the rare planchet mix-up. At first glance, it looks ordinary. Just a 1987 Lincoln penny. No mint mark. Brown, dull, nothing special. You've probably tossed hundreds of these into a jar without a second thought. But one man in Indiana picked one up from the floor of his garage, and that small moment changed his life forever. Because this wasn't just any 1987 penny. This one had a hidden flaw, a secret only a few collectors in the world even knew existed. It's called the 1987 log cabin, penny, and it's shrouded in mystery. There are no official records that say it was ever meant to exist. But it does. And when it surfaced at a small coin auction, collectors were floored. Not just because of its unique design flaw, but because the final bid hit $1.60 million. Let's go back to the beginning, the year 1987. The US Mint was under pressure. Production was running high. And even though no commemorative coins were officially released that year, rumors swirled among insiders that a prototype honoring Abraham Lincoln's birthplace, a rustic log cabin, had been quietly designed and accidentally minted, but never approved for circulation. It should have been melted down, erased from history. But it wasn't. Somehow, a small handful, maybe fewer than 20, slipped through the cracks. One such coin, found in a box of random cents at a rural estate sale, made its way into the hands of a sharp-eyed collector. When he held it to the light, he noticed something strange. Behind Lincoln's shoulder, faint wood-grain lines. A raised shape in the backdrop. He magnified it. That's when he saw it, the unmistakable silhouette of a log cabin, because he realized he was holding a coin that, officially, wasn't supposed to exist. But what happened next stunned the entire coin world. He sent the penny to be authenticated. Experts at multiple grading services couldn't believe their eyes. The reverse appeared normal, standard Lincoln Memorial. But the obverse? That subtle cabin outline, the unusual die pressure, the raised wood texture behind Lincoln. It all pointed to an experimental obverse die mistakenly used in production. Collectors were shocked. Whispers started. Was this the long-rumored prototype that had been lost for decades? Dealers began calling. Offers poured in. $50,000, $200,000. Then, at a Las Vegas coin show, one anonymous buyer made a jaw-dropping offer. A penny that almost got thrown away had just become a $1 million miracle. But here's where it gets even more unbelievable. Other versions of this coin might still be out there, because the mint produced over 4 billion pennies in 1987. And if even a tiny batch used that faulty prototype die, there could be more hiding in plain sight. Forgotten in desk drawers. Mixed in with pocket change. Or tossed in a child's piggy bank, never to be noticed. First, it must be a 1987 penny with no mint mark. That means it was minted in Philadelphia, where experimental dies were more commonly tested. Second, inspect the area behind Lincoln's portrait. Use a magnifying glass or phone zoom. Look for any faint signs of a cabin outline. It may appear as subtle texture, almost like a raised wood panel, just above his shoulder. Third, check the coin's luster. These rare examples often have unusual toning due to their experimental origin, a slightly matte or grainy surface not typical of other 1987 cents. And fourth, trust your instincts. If something feels off about the coin, if the details don't look exactly like your other 1987 pennies, that may be a sign you've uncovered something rare. They let it slip through their fingers, never knowing they held $1 million treasure. Collectors are rushing to get their hands on this mysterious 1987 log cabin penny. Dealers are scouring rolls, hunting for just one more. And the truth is, the next record-breaking find could come from a coin you already owe WN.SO. Go check that old jar. Dump out your change purse. Search your childhood piggy bank. Because this isn't just a story about a rare coin, it's a reminder that even the most ordinary things can hold extraordinary value. One man's penny turned into $1 million miracle. And yours could be next. You heard that right. 1 cent turned into $1 million miracle. And the most shocking part? The coin should never have existed in the first place. See, in 1969, the Denver Mint produced millions of pennies. Most had a small D mint mark beneath Lincoln's portrait, proudly marking their origin. But a handful? They were missing it completely. A silent error. No mint mark at all. A ghost signature. And those coins have become the stuff of legend. But what happened next stunned even veteran collectors. One of these no mint mark 1969 D log cabin pennies was discovered not in a safe, not at an auction, but inside an old coffee tin, mixed in with nickels and dimes. The man who found it almost tossed it aside, until something caught his eye. The design was crisp, unusually sharp, and there was no mint mark where there should have been one. He ran his fingers over the rim. The finish was unlike anything he'd ever seen on a penny from that era. He took it to a coin shop, and the dealer's face went pale. Soon, the coin was in the hands of top graders and numismatists. Weeks later, it was verified, a 1969 log cabin penny, struck with no mint mark, likely the result of a rare die mix-up between mints. And its value? Estimated at $1.7 million. But here's where it gets even more unbelievable. This coin's design wasn't ordinary. It featured the iconic Lincoln log cabin reverse, meant to celebrate his humble beginnings in Kentucky. But on this particular penny, something was off. The relief was unusually bold. The cabin lines sharper. Even the texture of the fields looked cleaner, almost proof-like. Experts believe these few coins might have been test strikes, never meant for circulation. Somehow, one or two escaped the mint, slipped into everyday commerce, and vanished for decades. Collectors were stunned. Dealers rushed to review their old rolls. Online coin forums lit up with speculation. Could there be more? Was this just the first of many waiting to be found? The difference between a 1-cent coin and $1 million fortune comes down to details. And this is where you need to pay close attention. If you're holding a 1969 penny, flip it over. Does it have the Lincoln log cabin reverse? That's your first clue. Then look just below the date on the front. Is there a DE mint mark? Most will have it. That missing mark could be a multi-million-dollar mistake. There are plenty of fakes. Some coins have the mint mark scratched off. Others are poor counterfeits. Here's how to avoid the traps. The genuine no mint mark 1969 log cabin penny will have razor-sharp design features, no sign of tampering around the date, and a distinct strike quality. The details on Lincoln's coat, the texture on the cabin logs, and the font of the lettering, all must be clean and precise. Another major giveaway? Weight and material. Authentic 1969 pennies are copper, not zinc. They should weigh around 3.11 grams. Use a precise scale. If it's too light, you may be holding a fake. Some of these valuable pennies weren't even collected. They were spent. Passed from hand to hand. Lost in coin jars, pockets, purses, and vending machines. It's entirely possible that your 1969 log cabin penny is already in your house, sitting quietly, waiting to change your life. Because one man's pocket change truly became $1 million miracle. And here's the moment you've been waiting for. The one detail that makes this coin explode in value, the log cabin on the back? It must be sharply defined, almost like a proof coin. If the cabin looks weak, blurry, or flat, it's likely not the one. But if the wood grain is crisp, and the windows and door are deep and clean, you could be staring at a treasure. Thousands of collectors are now racing to inspect every 1969 penny they find. Don't miss your shot. This exact penny could be sitting in your drawer right now, and it's worth over $1 million. It's an ordinary-looking 1980 penny. Brown, scratched, no mint mark. Just another 1-cent piece in your change jar, right? Because what's hiding beneath that copper surface is $1 million mistake that no one saw coming, not even the U.S. Mint. They call it the 1980 log cabin penny. But here's the twist. There was never supposed to be a log cabin on the 1980 penny. That design? It was only used in 2009. And yet, one man found what looked exactly like a faint log cabin image on a 1980 penny. And when experts confirmed it wasn't damage or faking, the coin world lost its mind. How could a 1980 penny, decades before the Lincoln Bicentennial Series, have a ghosted design of something that didn't officially exist yet? But what happened next shocked even seasoned dealers. A private auction was held, quietly, behind closed doors, and this unassuming no mint mark penny fetched $1.8 million. One man's pocket change became $1 million miracle. Back in 1980, the Philadelphia Mint, which didn't use a mint mark, produced billions of Lincoln pennies. But due to a rare die clash error, One of the dies used was allegedly recycled from an experimental engraving, one that may have featured the early sketches of a cabin-themed reverse. That design was never meant to be used. But a few of these ghost cabin impressions somehow made it through quality control and into circulation. And here's the kicker. Experts now believe up to 20 more could still be out there. Just imagine digging through your drawer, flipping over a worn penny, and spotting the faint lines of a wooden roof where there shouldn't be one. That moment, that heartbeat, when you realize you're holding millions of dollars in your palm, because the detail is so faint, so ghostly, that unless you tilt the coin under light at just the right angle, it disappears. And that's exactly what happened to Jerry Simmons, a retired postal worker who found his in a handful of coins left over from a vending machine. He noticed something strange, a shimmer, like hidden engraving. At first, he thought it was scratched. But when he looked closer, he couldn't believe his eyes. "Why is there a log cabin on my penny?" he asked a local coin dealer. The dealer's hands started shaking. That tiny cabin, that whisper of a mistake, turned Jerry's penny into a national mystery. It's not just the error. It's the timing. The 1980 penny was mass-produced, over 7 billion made, which makes it the last place anyone would look for a valuable mistake. Collectors are now scrambling to get their hands on one. Coin forums are lighting up. Dealers are combing through penny rolls by the thousands. Maybe even one in your house right now. So how can you spot this million-dollar marvel? Start with any 1980 penny that has no mint mark. That means it was struck in Philadelphia. Then flip it over. Under strong light, look closely at the Lincoln Memorial on the reverse side. If you see any strange, faint lines, especially horizontal patterns that resemble the roof of a cabin or wooden planks, don't clean it. Don't alter it. Take it to a professional numismatist immediately. The mistake is known as a clash ghost impression, and it only appears under very specific conditions. Most people toss it away, assuming it's damage. But now you know better. This is the kind of coin that can turn a quiet afternoon of organizing change into the most unforgettable day of your life. It's brown, scratched, and hiding in a coffee can, and the next time you reach into your pocket and feel a penny with no mint mark from 1980, tilted toward the light. It could be the million-dollar penny that changes your life. It looked like any other penny, faded, forgotten, and buried beneath a pile of old receipts on a dusty windowsill. But hidden beneath its worn copper surface was a secret the U.S. Mint never intended to release. A secret that would go on to shock collectors, stun experts, and change one man's life forever. This is the story of the mysterious 1962 log cabin penny with no mint mark, one of the rarest and most valuable errors ever discovered in American coin history. And yes, it's actually worth up to $1.1 million. To understand that, we have to go back over 60 years. 1962 was a year of mass production at the Denver Mint. Billions of Lincoln cents were struck with the iconic D mint mark. But buried among those billions, a tiny handful slipped through the cracks, struck without the mint mark altogether. A rare clash of mismatched dies and human oversight created what collectors now call the Phantom D, or the log cabin no mark. But here's the twist. This wasn't just a minting error. It happened during a historic transitional period when the mint was experimenting with design tweaks, including a faint return to the log cabin motif seen decades earlier on commemorative coins. The result? A bizarre, ghostly impression on the reverse, subtle but unmistakable, of a log cabin-style etching, created by die fatigue and design overlap. And paired with a missing mint mark, it became a ghost coin. It wasn't until a retired postal worker in Nebraska brought a jar of pennies to a local coin show that this coin's fate changed forever. Among the rust-colored copper, one expert's hand froze. The color, the texture, the missing mint mark, and then, that odd reverse pattern. He had never seen anything like it. Within 24 hours, the penny was being examined under forensic magnification. Experts confirmed what few dared to believe. It was a genuine, undocumented 1962 era coin with no visible mint mark, and the mysterious cabin-like imprint on the back. What happened next stunned the entire coin world. Collectors scrambled. Forums exploded with theories. Was it a die clash? A hub error? A quietly released commemorative prototype? No one could agree, but one thing was certain. It was real, it was rare, and the market wanted it bad. When the penny went to auction 6 months later, it opened at just $500. By the end of the night, the final bid rolled in. $1,100,000. Dealers were speechless. The auction room fell silent. One man's pocket change had just become $1 million miracle. Since that sale, only 3 other 1962 no mint mark log cabin variants have surfaced. Each one slightly different. Each one surrounded by whispers of mispresses, double dies, and machine errors. But none have been exactly the same. Some numismatists believe there may be fewer than 10 in existence. Others say there might still be one sitting unnoticed in a coin jar, a drawer, or even your car's cup holder. Look closely at your 1962 pennies. First, the obvious: is there no D mint mark under the date? That alone narrows it to a possible error strike. But that's just the beginning. Next, flip the coin and study the reverse. Look just beneath the Lincoln Memorial steps. If there's a faint, ghost-like horizontal grain, almost like planks of wood or a shadowed cabin behind the monument, you could be holding the real thing. Collectors were shocked to learn that even well-circulated examples of this rare error have sold for over 6 figures. And if it's near mint condition? You're staring down a possible $1 million treasure. But beware, many counterfeits are floating around. Some have the mint mark deliberately removed. Don't be fooled. Only expert verification and die study can confirm the authenticity. Never clean the coin, and never try to fix it, because what looks like a dirty penny might actually be a golden ticket. Imagine pulling a coin out of your childhood piggy bank and learning it could pay off your mortgage, your debts, and fund your dreams. That's what happened with this 1962 no mint mark log cabin penny. One viewer found theirs after watching a video just like this. They checked an old coin folder from their father's collection, and there it was. Worn but real. A once-in-a-lifetime find that changed their life in an instant. The U.S. Mint has never officially acknowledged this coin's existence. It remains a mystery, unlisted in most catalogs, unconfirmed in federal archives, yet verified and authenticated by multiple third-party experts. That's why collectors call it the ghost penny. It wasn't supposed to exist. And yet, it does. Dig through your 1962 pennies. Examine the date. Is there no mint mark? Flip it. Study the reverse under good light. Do you see that strange log grain, like shadowy lines behind the memorial? If so, do not spend it. Do not clean it. Get it verified immediately by a trusted grading service. Because that one penny could be worth over $1 million. This exact penny could be sitting in your drawer right now, and it's worth over $1 million. And here's the kicker: it looked like every other 1988 penny. Plain. Ordinary. Forgotten. But this wasn't just any penny. It was a 1988 Lincoln log cabin cent, except something was missing. Something tiny, something most people never notice. And that small missing detail turned this 1-cent coin into $1 million miracle. Collectors were stunned. Experts couldn't believe it. And dealers? They scrambled, desperate to find another. In the late 1980s, the U.S. Mint was transitioning its coin designs. Tiny tweaks, microscopic shifts, things no one outside the inner circle paid attention to. But during that time, a few strange coins slipped out into the world. Not just flawed coins, but Frankenstein-like combinations of old designs, mismatched dies, and vanishing mint marks. Now, to the untrained eye, it seems like a typical Lincoln cent copper-plated zinc. The familiar side profile of Abraham Lincoln on the obverse. And on the reverse? That charming, humble log cabin, a tribute to Lincoln's early life, used on a special subset of 2009 pennies. Some 1988 pennies were struck using an older obverse die, one meant for 1989 and beyond. And even more curious? Some had the Denver Mint mark missing entirely. A 1988 D penny, without the D. That tiny omission? That tiny detail almost invisible to the naked eye? It's the reason this coin sold for a life-changing amount of money. A retired construction worker in Kentucky, who had been casually collecting coins since the 70s, found this exact penny while cashing in a jar of change at a grocery store. Something about it felt off. He couldn't quite say why, but the lack of a mint mark caught his eye. He brought it to a local dealer. They shrugged. Said it wasn't worth more than face value. 2 years later, at a regional coin show, an expert from the numismatic guarantee company took a second look and gasped. This wasn't a regular 1988 penny. It had the reverse of 2009, a log cabin design, paired with a no mint mark obverse that wasn't supposed to exist. A double anomaly. A coin that, by all logic, shouldn't have survived the minting process. Shouldn't have passed inspection. Shouldn't even be real. But here's the part that gives collectors goosebumps. There may be more, because no one knows how many slipped through the cracks. The mints don't talk about it. The records are vague. And the coins look deceptively normal. They're hiding in junk drawers, coin jars, and glove compartments across America. This tiny detail is why it's worth millions, and most people miss it. The log cabin reverse wasn't supposed to exist until 2009. So if you see a 1988 penny with a log cabin back, your heart should skip a beat. Flip it over. Look for the D mint mark, which stands for Denver. It should be right under the date. If it's missing, your next call should be to a professional appraiser, not your bank, because that missing mark could be worth $1 million or more. Some experts believe this is one of the rarest transitional errors in modern American coinage. And it's not because it was made on purpose. It's because it wasn't. A total fluke. A forgotten mistake. A quiet anomaly that turned into gold. Dealers are still searching. Collectors are scouring their rolls. And every time a 1988 penny hits the light, someone's heart races. And remember, the reason this coin skyrocketed in value wasn't just rarity. It was the perfect storm of mystery, timing, and historical curiosity. A penny caught between two eras. A symbol of how even the smallest things can carry unimaginable worth. First, check your 1988 pennies. Ignore how dull or dirty they look. Focus on the reverse. If it shows a log cabin instead of the Lincoln Memorial, set it aside. Then look at the date. Is there a D under the year? If not, you might be looking at history. Common mistakes to avoid? Don't clean the coin. Don't scratch it. And don't take it to someone who doesn't understand coinage errors. These coins can lose thousands, even hundreds of thousands, in value from a single smudge or mishandling. Instead, handle it carefully. Place it in a soft cloth or protective case. And get it authenticated by a reputable service like PCGS or NGC. Only then will the true value be revealed. It was just an ordinary day. A man in Kansas dropped his change on the kitchen table. Quarters, dimes, nickels, and one odd penny. Brown, slightly worn, but something about it looked different. It was a 1960 penny. Nothing unusual at first glance. But the back, that log cabin design? That's not supposed to be there. And there was no mint mark, but something told him to take a second look. And thank goodness he did, because that tiny copper coin turned out to be one of the most valuable modern-day Lincoln pennies ever discovered. A rare 1960 log cabin penny with no mint mark, and a secret that stunned even the most seasoned coin experts. That single cent is now valued at $1.3 million. The truth behind this coin starts back in the depths of the U.S. Mint's history, a moment of confusion, transition, and a mistake so rare, it's now worth a fortune. In 1960, the Denver Mint was pumping out billions of pennies. Most featured the familiar Lincoln Memorial design. But a mysterious few, were struck with the log cabin reverse, the original birthplace of Lincoln. Design that hadn't been used since the 150th anniversary of Lincoln's birth. A throwback. A mix-up. A mistake. And here's the kicker, the Denver Mint struck them without a mint mark. A complete error. Some believe it was a rogue test strike. Others think it was an employee mix-up, forgotten in the chaos of coin production. Whatever the truth, only a handful ever made it into circulation. Then came the auction. A small Midwest auction house listed one as a curiosity piece. Bidding opened at $100. Then it jumped to $10,000. Then $50,000. And by the time the final gavel fell, one lucky owner walked away with $1.3 million in cash. For a single penny, more reports began trickling in. A coin dealer in Florida claimed to have seen a second one. Same log cabin reverse, same missing mint mark. But before it could be authenticated, it vanished. Sold in a batch of bulk coins to an unknown buyer. Gone. Another one reportedly surfaced in Oregon, found in a collection stored away for decades. Its owner had no idea what they had. When they finally brought it to an appraiser, the expert nearly fell out of his chair. And just like that, the legend of the 1960's no mint mark log cabin penny began to grow. It comes down to three rare elements all colliding in a single coin: a mismatched design, a minting location mistake, and the total absence of a mint mark, all during a year where such an error should have been impossible. Dealers are rushing to get their hands on this coin. Collectors are tearing through their penny jars. And the US Mint? They've said nothing. No statement. No explanation. Just silence. Which only makes the mystery deeper, and the stakes higher. This exact penny could still be sitting in your house. In an old coffee can. In your junk drawer. In a forgotten piggy bank that hasn't been cracked open in 30 years. Because most people don't know what to look for. To identify this $1 million penny, flip over any 1960 penny you find. Most will show the Lincoln Memorial on the back. But if you see a log cabin instead, stop everything. Now look beneath the date. If there's a D mint mark, it's from Denver, which should never appear with the log cabin design. But here's the twist. The rarest of them have no mint mark at all. It's this bizarre combination, a 1960 penny that has no mint mark, with the reverse design of the 2009 Lincoln birthplace cent, that makes it so incredibly rare. Only a few are known. Some believe fewer than 5 exist, because counterfeits are everywhere. Some people have taken 2009 log cabin pennies and swapped the dates. Others have sanded off the mint mark, hoping to fool appraisers. But experts know what to look for: edge details, planchet metal consistency, and strike characteristics. So if you think you have one, get it authenticated. Immediately. It could change your life. Don't underestimate this tiny copper disc. It may be small. It may look humble. But it's a symbol of how history, mystery, and one split-second error can create something priceless. One man's pocket change became $1 million miracle. Yours could be next. It was a 1970 Lincoln penny. But not just any penny. To the average eye, it looked like every other coin struck in Denver that year. A smooth copper tone, Abraham Lincoln on the front, the classic Lincoln Memorial on the back. This one didn't have a mint mark, and that's when the whispers started. Because coins minted in Denver are always marked with a small d. That's US Mint protocol. It's how we trace where a coin was born. But this 1970 Lincoln penny, known by collectors as the log cabin penny, defied the rules. At first, dealers thought it was just a heavily worn coin, nothing special. Just old copper. But then, under magnification, something unusual emerged. The strike was razor sharp. The details were crisp. The wear was minimal. And that meant only one thing: it wasn't worn off. The D was never there to begin with. That revelation changed everything. Because now, it wasn't just an old coin. It was a phantom, a mistake, a once-in-a-lifetime US Mint blunder. Only a handful of these 1970 pennies with no mint mark are known to exist, and the few that surfaced were scattered across the country. One found in Missouri, another in a dusty drawer in Arizona. But the most famous one, that was discovered in the pocket change of a retired janitor in rural Kentucky. He'd saved his spare change in an old Folgers coffee can for years. One Sunday morning, sipping his black coffee and sorting coins, he noticed something strange. "There's no D on this one," he said out loud. He almost shrugged it off. Almost. But something told him to look again. He posted a blurry photo on a coin collector forum. Within 24 hours, his inbox exploded. Messages poured in. Check the date again. Is it the small date variety? Does it have full luster? One dealer even flew across the country just to see it in person, and when they confirmed its authenticity, they made him an offer that changed his life forever. But what makes this coin so valuable isn't just the missing mint mark. It's what's hiding in the shadows of its design. See, in 1970, the US Mint was transitioning between two different die varieties, a large date and a small date. The rarest error occurred when the small date obverse die was accidentally paired with a Denver Mint reverse, but no mint mark was ever punched. Experts believe only a few slipped through the cracks before the mistake was caught, and because pennies are rarely inspected closely, most were spent, lost, forgotten. But what happened next stunned even the most experienced collectors. The janitor's penny was not just rare, it was perfect. Mint state, brilliant red tone, nearly flawless under 5x magnification. Bidders from New York, Tokyo, even Zurich were on the line, and when the hammer finally fell at $1.4 million, the room erupted. A janitor became a millionaire, thanks to a coin he almost gave away. So how can you spot one of these rare 1970 Lincoln pennies hiding in your own pocket change? Look closely at the date. You want the small date variety, where the top of the 7 is nearly level with the 0. Then, check for a missing mint mark. If there's no D under the date, and the coin is crisp and well struck, you might have something. But be careful. Many coins appear to be missing the mint mark due to wear. That's why condition matters. The finer the detail, the higher the value. Collectors are searching for sharp lettering, clean rims, and full copper luster. Take it to a reputable coin dealer, and don't spend it before you know what you have, because one misstep could cost you $1 million miracle. Dealers are racing to track down these coins. Auctions are exploding with demand, and the next $1 million penny might be sitting in your glove box, your change jar, or even your kid's piggy bank. This coin didn't come from a safe deposit box or a private vault. It came from everyday life, from hands to pockets, drawers to jars, and finally, into history. But just months later, it was sitting behind glass at an elite auction house, and sold for over $1.5 million. It's called the 1973 log cabin penny. And here's the twist. It has no mint mark. That one missing letter made all the difference. But how did such an ordinary-looking coin, a simple copper penny, become a millionaire's dream? And more importantly, could one be hiding in your home right now? Let's unravel the secret behind one of the most mysterious and valuable Lincoln pennies in U.S. history. 1973 was the year when the U.S. Mint was still recovering from the wild coinage experiments of the late 60s. There were whispers in the collector community, rumors of strange errors and one-off designs escaping the mint's walls. One of those rumors involved the Lincoln Bicentennial Preview design, the log cabin motif, a tribute to Lincoln's humble beginnings. Although that iconic design wasn't supposed to be used until decades later, a handful of test coins may have been struck early, accidentally. And when that mistake collided with a minting location error, the absence of a mint mark, a legend was born. At first, no one noticed. The coin looked too average, too innocent, just a 1973 penny. No mint mark. But one collector, known only as RJ, to protect his privacy, saw something no one else did, and what he discovered stunned the coin world. He spotted an odd texture on the reverse, the faint outlines of a log cabin hidden just behind the Lincoln Memorial, not visible at first glance. But when tilted under direct light, there it was. Collectors were blown away. Could it be a rogue test strike? A die transfer? A rejected prototype accidentally circulated? Whatever it was, dealers began offering 5 figures within days. But RJ held out, and that patience paid off when a private auction offer of $1.5 million came in from a well-known West Coast collector. There weren't just 1 or 2 of these coins. There could be dozens, maybe even hundreds, still out there, buried in junk drawers, forgotten in old coffee cans, or sitting inside a dusty piggy bank. And now, every serious collector in America is on the hunt. It's not just the design. It's the combination of errors and rarity. In 1973, pennies from Philadelphia didn't carry a mint mark. That's normal. But the coin in question shows signs of being struck on an incorrect planchet. The weight? Slightly off. The color? More golden than copper. Most pennies from 1973 show the standard Lincoln Memorial. But this one, if the light hits it just right, shows trace impressions of a log cabin, likely from a misaligned die or a ghosted image from an earlier design test. Experts believe it may have been created during a secret design transition phase, a phase never meant for public eyes. But what happened next shocked even the most seasoned dealers. After the record-breaking sale, a rush began. YouTubers, eBay sellers, TikTok influencers, everyone started flipping their change, and then a second coin surfaced. Also 1973. Also no mint mark, but this one had just a whisper of the cabin, barely visible, and still sold for $300,000 because the demand had become a frenzy. Collectors didn't care if it was faded. They just wanted to own a piece of numismatic mystery. Now, you're probably wondering, how do I find one of these life-changing pennies? Start by checking any 1973 Lincoln penny with no mint mark, meaning it was struck in Philadelphia. Weigh it. A normal 1973 penny should weigh 3.11 grams. If yours is heavier or lighter by even a small margin, it's a possible error planchet. Hold it under strong directional light, like sunlight or a flashlight. Tilt it slowly. Look just behind the Lincoln Memorial on the reverse. Focus on the background field. You're searching for any pattern resembling logs, roof lines, or cabin walls. No matter how faint, some lucky finders describe it like a ghost image peeking through the metal. And be careful, many fakes have started to appear. Watch out for coins with etched designs or polished areas. A real error won't be clean or perfect. It'll be subtle, accidental, and a little bit weird. One man's penny became $1 million miracle, all because he noticed what no one else did. If you're still here, you're not just curious. You're hungry. Hungry for that once-in-a-lifetime find. The coin that changes everything. This coin almost ended up in a jar of pennies, buried in a kitchen drawer, forgotten for years. But when it was finally examined, it changed everything. It wasn't just rare. It was priceless. A 1978 log cabin penny, with no mint mark, and a secret mistake that made it worth up to $1.6 million. Most people never even knew this version existed. But the few who do, they're hunting for it like buried treasure. Because this 1-cent coin is no ordinary Lincoln penny, it's a shocking misprint from the US Mint that almost never saw the light of day. The story begins in 1978. The year the Bee Gees ruled the radio, the year Superman flew into theaters, and the year the Denver Mint made millions of ordinary pennies. A tiny batch of 1978 Lincoln cents were struck with an error so subtle, so rare, most collectors didn't even believe it was real. These coins were supposed to have the iconic D mint mark, proudly stamped below the date to show it came from Denver. But a rare few didn't. At first, experts were skeptical. A Denver coin with no mint mark? That shouldn't be possible. But then, one coin turned up. Then another. Then, one sold for over $1 million at a secretive private auction. That's when the coin world went silent. Dealers were stunned. Collectors were desperate. And suddenly, everyone was checking their pocket change. One man in Ohio, a retired school janitor, found the coin completely by accident. He'd saved pennies for years, never expecting any of them to be worth more than face value. But one evening, while sorting through his jars, he noticed something strange. The date read 1978. The design was perfect, but there was no mint mark. He nearly tossed it aside. But something about the shine, the edges, it felt different. Weeks later, he got the call. "Sir, do you know what you have here?" That coin, that forgotten penny from his desk drawer, was valued at over $1.60 million. This coin was struck using a transitional die, a leftover minting tool from a previous year that had been mistakenly installed during a chaotic production run in Denver. And because that die was missing the mint mark engraving, it created a batch of coins with no D, despite being struck at the Denver Mint. And here's the kicker, it wasn't caught. Not by inspectors. Not by machines. Not even by collectors. until decades later, some experts believe fewer than 10 of these mint-era pennies exist. And because the 1978 log cabin cent already had slight design quirks due to wear on the dies, the few that were misprinted look almost identical to normal coins, unless you know exactly what to look for. The coin that sold for over $1 million. It had been in a change cup in the back of a pickup truck for 10 years. It survived rain, dirt, and heat waves, and somehow stayed intact. That kind of story doesn't just shake up the coin community, it lights it on fire. People started tearing through coin rolls, searching old drawers, flea markets, garage sales. Some even posted bounties on Facebook groups offering 5 figures just for a chance to inspect someone's 1978 penny. If you find a 1978 Lincoln penny without a mint mark, you could be sitting on a jackpot. But only if it has the right details. They see a penny with a faint or faded D and think they've struck gold. But in most cases, that's just post-mint damage, wear and tear from circulation. The real $1 million version has no mint mark at all. It wasn't rubbed off. It was never there to begin with, and the coin's surfaces? Razor sharp. No blurring. No warping. Often with signs of an early dye state, meaning it was among the first struck with that defective dye. The edges are strong. The date alignment is perfect. The font on Liberty is crisp. And the Lincoln Memorial on the reverse? Deep, defined steps. If you've got that combination, and there's no mint mark under 1978, you could be holding a coin worth over $1.6 million. Some of these no mint mark 1978 pennies show subtle doubling on the word trust, a sign of die fatigue that suggests multiple strikes with the same faulty tool. That doubling, when paired with the missing mint mark, sends the value skyrocketing. A penny you've walked past 100 times. A coin you never thought twice about. Sitting in a pile of change on your kitchen counter, and it could pay off your house, your debt, your retirement. That's not just exciting, that's life-changing. Because every day, these coins are disappearing, worn down, spent, lost forever. And the few left? They're being snapped up by elite collectors who understand their true value. So how do you make sure you're not throwing away a fortune? First, flip through your 1978 pennies. Focus only on the ones that don't have a mint mark under the date. Then, examine the coin's surface. Does it look unusually sharp? Is the lettering crisp? Is Lincoln's hairline deeply struck? That's a good sign. Now, inspect the reverse. Look at the Lincoln Memorial, especially the steps. If they're strong and detailed, you're onto something. Still no mint mark? It's time to get that coin appraised. Certified grading from PCGS or NGC can turn your discovery into a verifiable 6 or 7-figure asset. Be careful not to clean or alter the coin. Even a tiny scratch or polish job could drop its value by thousands. Let the professionals handle it, because this isn't just any penny. It's a symbol of how easily a simple moment, a quick glance at the right coin, can change your life forever. Collectors are still out there, searching. Dealers are making calls. And hidden somewhere in an old jar, a forgotten drawer, or a dusty coin album, another 1978 log cabin penny with no mint mark is waiting to be found. This coin almost ended up in a charity jar, but when an expert spotted one microscopic detail, it turned into $1 million miracle. It's the 1987 log cabin Lincoln penny. No mint mark. Ordinary to the untrained eye, but extraordinary to those who know what to look for. This isn't just a coin, it's a time capsule with a secret. And what's hiding inside could be worth up to $1.70 million. Imagine finding a penny so valuable, it could erase your mortgage, pay off your kids' college, and still leave enough for a dream vacation around the world. That's not a fantasy. That's what happened to one stunned collector in Ohio. He almost didn't check his change. He was rushing out the door, coffee in one hand, keys in the other, when something about the penny's color caught his eye. It wasn't copper, and it wasn't zinc. It shimmered strangely in the light, like it had a story it was trying to tell. When he took it to a local shop, even the dealer's hands began to shake. It wasn't just rare. It was impossible. This 1987 penny didn't have a mint mark. But here's the kicker. By 1987, all pennies should have had identifying marks if they were struck in Denver or San Francisco. A missing mint mark on this specific coin wasn't just an oversight, it was a ghost in the machine. A fluke. A forgotten error in the U.S. Mint's otherwise flawless operations. Collectors were shocked. Auction houses scrambled to verify it. And once it hit the market, bids exploded, from a few hundred to a few thousand, until one anonymous bidder offered just over $1.7 million. For a single cent back in 1987, the U.S. Mint was transitioning equipment. Some older dies, used to strike pennies, were improperly paired with newer planchets. A few of those slips got past inspection. And if just one was missing the mint mark while also struck with a misaligned die, the result was this ultra-rare coin. Dealers are now rushing to get their hands on any 1987 penny without a mint mark. But here's the chilling part. Most people throw them away. Or worse, use them to pay for gas, never realizing they just spent $1 million at the pump. This tiny detail is why it's worth millions, and most people miss it. Look closely at your 1987 pennies. First, check for a mint mark under the date. If there's a small D or S, it's a standard strike. But if there's nothing, you might have something special. Now take a magnifier. Inspect the edges. Some of the $1 million variants show slight doubling on the Liberty, or In God We Trust. This doubling isn't just cosmetic, it's the fingerprint of a minting mistake. A die shift. A mechanical whisper that says, "This coin shouldn't exist." Some of the most valuable 1987 no-mint mark pennies have a smooth, almost proof-like finish, as if they were accidentally struck using a higher quality die normally reserved for collector sets. That bizarre shine? It's what turned pocket change into pure gold. One man's pocket change became $1 million miracle. If you find a 1987 penny with no mint mark, don't clean it. Don't polish it. Don't try to improve it. That natural wear, that raw state, is often what makes it authentic. Take it to a reputable coin dealer or have it graded by PCGS or NGC. They'll confirm if it's one of the rare errors worth real money. But beware, scammers are out there. Some people scratch mint marks off, hoping to fake rarity. Don't be fooled. Real no mint mark errors are clean, no trace of tampering, and usually have telltale signs in strike depth, spacing, and finish. Rumor has it, fewer than 20 authentic 1987 no-mint mark era pennies exist in collectible condition. That's why collectors are on high alert. Because whoever finds the next one could be holding another $1 million treasure. So the next time you're counting pennies at the bottom of your purse, or scooping change from your car's cup holder, pause. Look, because the rarest coin you'll ever touch might already be in your hand. This exact penny could be sitting in your drawer right now, and it's worth over $1 million. That coin? A 2007 Lincoln Log Cabin penny, with no visible mint mark. Now you might be thinking, wait, a modern penny? From 2007? Why would that ever be worth anything? Well, that's exactly what one Colorado man thought, until he saw the tiny imperfection that changed everything. What he first thought was a smudge turned out to be a critical minting flaw, one that stunned professional appraisers. And by the time the bidding war ended, that little brown coin had transformed into $1.8 million. But let's rewind, because this story has roots deeper than most collectors ever imagined. In 2007, the U.S. Mint was preparing to honor Abraham Lincoln's legacy with a multi-year penny series, starting with a design depicting the log cabin where he was born. Millions of these were struck, but in that enormous batch, something unusual happened deep in the Denver Mint. Nobody knows exactly how many were struck using worn dies, misaligned presses, or missing mint marks. And when those flawed coins entered circulation, the mistakes were so subtle, so easy to overlook, they slipped through countless hands unnoticed. One of them even ended up in a tip jar at a truck stop cafe. A retired factory worker, sorting through a box of old change he'd saved since the 1980s, found a strange 2007 penny with no D mint mark. It looked off. The detail on the log cabin seemed faded. He took it to a coin shop, just in case. The dealer's jaw dropped. Within hours, experts were calling it one of the cleanest examples of a mint mark omission error ever seen on a post-2000 coin. Collectors were shocked. How could a penny this recent, a coin younger than some smartphones, be worth millions? It wasn't just a missing mint mark. This particular coin also showed doubling on Lincoln's profile, a rare die clash on the reverse, and what experts believe was a short run of misaligned die strikes. In numismatic terms, that's a perfect storm. Dealers began searching for others. Prices spiked overnight. A frenzy started on online marketplaces, with hopeful sellers listing any 2007 penny they could find, but only a few held the true traits. That same coin, the one pulled from a dusty shoebox, eventually sold through a private auction house for a staggering $1.8 million. One penny. One moment. One miracle. Multiple experts believe there could still be dozens more like it hiding in drawers, jars, and pockets across the country. Because most people don't know what to look for, and that's the real tragedy. So how do you know if your 2007 D Lincoln penny might be worth a fortune? Look at the front. If the D mint mark under the date is missing entirely, hold on to it. But don't stop there. Use a magnifying glass. Examine Lincoln's profile closely. Look for signs of doubling on the nose, lips, and jaw. That's called a double die, and it's one of the most valuable errors a penny can have. Then flip it over. Look at the log cabin. Is the wood grain blurred or incomplete? Do you see ghostly outlines, as if another image was struck beneath the surface? That could be a die clash, where the coin press malfunctions. And here's a tiny detail most people miss, but it could mean the difference between a regular penny and a six-figure payday. Look at the rim. Is it thicker on one side? If so, you might have a misaligned die strike, another jackpot feature when paired with the missing mint mark. But what makes this story truly legendary isn't just the errors. It's that the coin came from a year most people ignore. It's a modern penny. Not 1909. Not 1943. It's from 2007, a year most of us remember clearly. This tiny coin was never meant to be rare. But because of one mechanical mistake, and one lucky discovery, it became a life-changing treasure. That 2007 D log cabin penny with no mint mark could be sitting in your glove box right now. Hiding in an old coffee can. Clinking at the bottom of your kitchen junk drawer. And if it matches the traits we've revealed today, it could be worth over $1 million. So don't ignore your pennies. Don't assume they're worthless just because they look ordinary. Because sometimes, the most valuable treasures are the ones we overlook every single day. You might be holding one right now. And just like that collector, your entire life could change with a single cent. In 1987, the U.S. Mint released millions of pennies with the Denver D mint mark. But among them, a tiny number slipped through the cracks. These rogue coins look like the standard log cabin Lincoln cent, but there's a twist. A few were minted without any mint mark at all. No D. No P. Just a bare coin face. And that's where the $1 million mystery begins. Collectors believe this wasn't just an error, it was an accident that was never meant to be discovered. A brief lapse at the Denver Mint. A change in die. A fleeting moment where the minting process glitched, and history was made. One of these no mint mark 1987 pennies surfaced in a small town flea market in Ohio. A man was clearing out his late father's coin collection, nothing fancy, just rolls of pennies. But tucked inside one of those rolls was something off. The penny looked too crisp. Too unique. And most importantly, it had no mint mark. The man almost tossed it in with the others. Almost. Instead, he brought it to a local coin dealer, and that's when jaws dropped. They couldn't believe what they were seeing. The weight? Slightly off. The strike? Sharper than normal. And the missing mint mark? It matched reports from an old, unconfirmed Denver Mint error batch that was never officially logged. This wasn't just a coin, it was a ghost from the past. The bidding started low, but within minutes, it exploded. $10,000, $100,000, then $500,000. Collectors were stunned. Dealers were calling their contacts. And in the end, that single penny, the one nearly lost forever, sold for $1.10 million. One man's pocket change became a $1 million miracle. Experts believe only a handful of these no-mint mark 1987 log cabin pennies exist. Maybe 5. Maybe less. But no one knows for sure. That's why dealers across the country are scrambling, because even a single find could change your life forever. First, look for the 1987 penny with the Lincoln log cabin reverse. It should have crisp detail, not worn down. Now check the front. If there's no D under the date, and no P either, your heart should start racing. Some forgeries have popped up, with the mint mark carefully scratched off. Don't fall for that. A real no-mint mark 1987 error will have perfect symmetry and untouched metal where the mint mark should be. Under magnification, the area should be completely smooth, not tampered or altered, and then there's the weight test. These rare pennies often show a minor difference in weight due to subtle changes in metal composition during that minting glitch. If your penny feels just a touch lighter or heavier than normal, that's another huge clue. The authentic no-mint mark error penny has a sharper, almost proof-like strike. It looks cleaner, bolder, like it was meant for something special. That detail alone has thrown off collectors for decades. But now you know the truth. And remember, not all heroes wear capes. Some just carry spare change in their pocket. A coin that was meant to be ordinary. Lost in a sea of billions. Overlooked. Forgotten. And now? Worth more than most people's homes. That's the magic of the 1987 no-mint mark log cabin penny. One man found his on a rainy Tuesday after emptying his glove box. Another spotted theirs during a late-night coin roll hunt with his grandson. And you? Yours might be sitting in your junk drawer, in your coin jar, or even in your wallet right now, because every great treasure begins in the most unexpected place. You just have to know what to look for, and believe that your $1 million moment is coming. So take a second. Go check. Look closely. That plain old penny might just be the key to a new life, because this exact penny could be sitting in your drawer right now, and it's worth over $1 million. If you want more coin secrets, hidden treasures, and real stories that could change your life, subscribe now. You never know which cent is about to make you a millionaire. We're talking about the 1995 log cabin penny, with no mint mark, a coin so rare and misunderstood, its true value stayed buried for decades. Until one man's curiosity turned it into a $1.20 million miracle. It all begins with the image on the front, Lincoln's solemn face, unchanged since 1909. But on the reverse? A bold departure. The rustic log cabin, a tribute to Lincoln's humble beginnings, framed in intricate detail. A special design created for the 1995 collector's edition. Or at least, that's what most people think. You see, in 1995, the U.S. Mint was preparing for a series of commemorative designs, including a tribute to Lincoln's early years. But this log cabin reverse wasn't officially released in general circulation. It was only intended for select proof sets. Every single one should have had an S mint mark from San Francisco. That was the rule. Yet somehow, a handful of these log cabin pennies slipped out into the wild with no mint mark at all. No S. No D. Not even a P. Because in coin collecting, mint marks are like fingerprints. They tell us where a coin was born. And when one is missing, especially on a coin that was never meant to leave the mint, you have a treasure on your hands. Dealers were shocked when the first one surfaced at a flea market in Ohio. A man bought it in a plastic bag of old coins for less than $10. At first, he didn't think much of it. But something about the reverse felt different, the cabin, the trees, the texture. And then he noticed, the mint mark was gone. He took it to a local coin show, expecting a few curious glances. Experts rushed to inspect it. Magnifying lenses snapped open. Phones rang. Emails were sent. And within hours, the whispers began to spread, because once news got out, collectors across the country began checking their own coins. Thousands of 1995 pennies were pulled from jars, drawers, and shoeboxes. Most were ordinary. One more surfaced in California, tucked inside a deceased grandfather's coin folder labeled, "Just in case." Another was found by a middle school teacher who had been using it in a lesson about Lincoln. That one ended up at auction and sold for $1.2 million to a private collector in New York who simply said, "I've waited my whole life for this." On the surface, it looks just like a standard 1995 penny. Same copper color, same weight, same Lincoln portrait. But flip it over, and you'll notice the log cabin, slightly different from the 2009 bicentennial design, and more importantly, no mint mark below the year. Nothing. Just the date. And that's the signal. Some counterfeiters have tried to erase mint marks from regular coins, hoping to fake the no-mark version. But trained eyes know the difference. Real no-mint log cabin pennies have a specific die pattern, a slight doubling on the E of E pluribus unum, and a hairline crack near the cabin's roof. That crack? It's the fingerprint of the rare die used in the few misstruck coins that made it out. Collectors were stunned when this detail was confirmed by professional graders. It proved beyond doubt the coin was real, the error was unintentional, and its existence a complete accident. That's why seasoned collectors, auction houses, and even some museums are hunting for these coins. Some have posted public bounties of up to $50,000 just for the chance to authenticate one. One Illinois collector even offered his 1967 Corvette in trade for a penny. One man's pocket change became $1 million miracle. Find a 1995 penny. Flip it over. If you see the log cabin on the reverse, not the Lincoln Memorial, you're already in rare territory. Next, check the space just below the year on the front. Is there no mint mark at all? Not a D. Not an S. Not even a faint P? Then look closer. Inspect the cabin roof for a fine diagonal die crack. Examine the word E pluribus unum on the reverse, especially the E. Any signs of doubling or thickness? These are the telltale traits of the $1 million version. But beware, a missing mint mark alone isn't enough. If the design is off, or the surface looks polished or tampered with, it's likely not genuine. But if all those signs line up, you might just be holding one of the rarest pennies ever created. The idea that something so small, so overlooked, could hold the power to transform your entire financial future, it's not just exciting. It's real. Iron sock drawers, coin jars, pockets, forgotten collections passed down through generations. And the next discovery? Could be yours. At first glance, it looks like every other penny you've ever seen. Brown, worn, ordinary. The kind of coin you might find under your couch or rattling at the bottom of your pocket. But this 1970's Lincoln penny, one with a quiet past and no visible mint mark, is hiding a secret that shocked even veteran collectors. Here's the mystery. In 1970, the U.S. Mint produced a special log cabin design as part of the Lincoln Bicentennial Tribute. But there was one version, made at the Denver Mint, yes, the D Mint, that for reasons still not fully explained, came out without the mint mark. A ghost. A phantom. A mistake that shouldn't exist. According to whispered reports in coin collecting circles, one of these 1970's pennies with no mint mark surfaced at a garage sale in Ohio. A man sorting through an old jar of pennies spotted something strange. At first, he was about to toss it back into the pile, but something caught his eye. The finish looked odd. The design slightly off-center. And when he flipped it over, chills ran down his spine. He brought it to a coin shop the next day. The dealer's hands reportedly shook as he examined it. He called in another expert. Then another. Each one confirmed what they saw. A 1970's penny that was never supposed to exist without a mint mark. An ultra-rare error. Possibly one of just a handful ever made, or even the only one known to exist in that condition. When this coin hit auction, bidders erupted. Collectors from across the country, even internationally, started a bidding war. People who had never even heard of penny errors before were suddenly tuned in. By the time the hammer fell, this little coin, once worth a single cent, had reached an astonishing sale price of $1.3 million. So what makes this coin worth more than a house, more than most people's retirement savings? An incredibly rare error, linked to a beloved historical series, and hidden in plain sight for decades. Most people never notice the mint mark. But for collectors, its absence is like finding a fingerprint at a crime scene. Especially when it's a Denver-issued coin that's supposed to show a D right beneath the date. No mint mark means it slipped past every quality control step. It escaped unnoticed, a ghost coin released into the wild. Some experts believe more of these exist. Unfound. Sitting quietly in penny jars, kitchen drawers, or even bank rolls waiting to be cashed in. And the only way to know is to look carefully. Because this isn't just about luck, it's about knowing what to look for. 1970. That's crucial. Second, the reverse must show the log cabin design, celebrating Lincoln's birthplace. Third, and this is the deal breaker, there should be no mint mark beneath the date on the front. Some 1970 pennies were made in Philadelphia, which also don't have a mint mark, but they were never meant to carry one. What makes the 1970D version so valuable is that it came from Denver, which always used a DE mark. So, how do you know? The secret lies in the die pattern and striking quality. Denver pennies often have sharper, deeper impressions and certain details in Lincoln's coat and beard. A certified expert can authenticate this. But your job is to spot the anomaly and act fast. Collectors are now reporting rumors of similar minting errors in other years. And the 1970D is just the beginning. It's becoming a gold rush for pennies. And every week someone new uncovers a coin that turns their life upside down. What if your next handful of change held the key to your future? What if a coin you nearly gave away was secretly worth $1 million? You don't need to be a professional. You don't need a degree. All you need is awareness, and the willingness to check your change. Because stories like these aren't just rare, they're inspiring. They remind us that value is hiding in the most unexpected places. In old coins. Forgotten drawers. Moments of curiosity. One man's pocket change became $1 million miracle, and yours could be next. This exact penny, the 1970D log cabin penny with no mint mark, could be sitting in your drawer right now. This coin almost ended up in the trash, but it turned out to be worth over $1 million. It's a 2011 Lincoln penny. Ordinary. Dirty. Just another copper flash in someone's pocket. But what nobody noticed, not even the cashier who handed it out in change, was the shocking detail stamped into its tiny surface. And that single detail made this unassuming penny explode in value to a jaw-dropping $1.40 million. Collectors were stunned. Dealers began whispering. One man even called it a ghost coin because it shouldn't exist. And right now, it might be hiding in your drawer, or rattling around in your car cup holder, or waiting quietly in your coin jar. A life-changing discovery that most people overlook every single day. In 2011, the U.S. Mint was producing billions of pennies as part of the Lincoln Bicentennial Coin Series, including the famous log cabin reverse design honoring Abraham Lincoln's humble beginnings. These coins were meant to bear distinct mint marks based on where they were struck. A Denver coin? That's a D mint mark. A Philadelphia coin? Typically, no mint mark at all. A very small number of 2011 pennies struck in Denver mysteriously ended up with no mint mark at all. To the naked eye, these coins looked normal. Copper-plated zinc. Lincoln's familiar profile. But collectors quickly noticed something chilling. These coins bore the Denver strike characteristics, yet the mint mark was missing. It wasn't faded. It wasn't weak. It was never there. Experts began to investigate. Was this a die error? A rogue batch? A forgotten design? One man, a retired post office clerk from Colorado, claimed he found the coin while searching through a roll from his local bank. At first, he tossed it aside. But something about it felt odd. Lighter than usual. The color just a bit off. And when he held it under a magnifying glass, he noticed the absence of the D mint mark, and the hair on his arms stood up. He took it to a local coin shop. The owner's face went pale. Within hours, news spread across collector forums like wildfire. A 2011 D penny, with no D. Auction houses scrambled to verify the piece. Experts confirmed this was no fake. This was a genuine, uncirculated 2011 Denver penny, with a full log cabin reverse, but absolutely no mint mark. $50,000, $200,000, $500,000. And then, the final hammer drop, $1.4 million. Collectors were floored. This wasn't a 1943 bronze penny or a 1955 double die. This was a modern coin. One you could have found in your change just last week. This missing mark rewrote the rules of what a valuable penny could be. Since that discovery, only a handful of similar 2011 no-mint log cabin pennies have been reported. Some experts say fewer than May 20th exist. Some believe the original die was altered during maintenance and accidentally released. Others claim a rogue employee may have done it intentionally. But no one knows for sure. It means that at this very moment, there could be millions of regular 2011 pennies circulating, but tucked among them, a hidden treasure. $1 million miracle. And unless you know what to look for, you never notice it. So how can you tell if you have the $1 million 2011 log cabin penny? Second, flip the coin. If it features the log cabin design on the reverse, the one used to honor Lincoln's birth and Kentucky roots, that's your first green light. Third, look for the mint mark just beneath the date on the front. Normally, Denver minted coins will show a clear D. If there's no mint mark at all, and the coin still shows crisp detail with Denver-style strike pressure and planchet quality, then you may have found something extraordinary. Weakly struck mint marks are common. Faded marks are not valuable. What makes this coin worth over $1 million is the absolute absence of a mint mark, despite being struck with Denver characteristics. Collectors are watching for this. Dealers are paying premiums. And every year that passes makes these coins rarer and more legendary. One woman found hers at the bottom of an old mason jar. Another was discovered stuck under a car seat. One man literally pulled his from a parking lot penny tray and sold it months later for enough to retire. This exact penny could be sitting in your drawer right now, and it's worth over $1 million. This coin almost ended up in the trash, but just weeks later, it sold for nearly $1.5 million. It's a plain-looking penny. No mint mark. No shiny gold edges. Just a regular copper coin with Lincoln on the front. So how could something so ordinary become one of the most expensive coins in American history? It all started with a strange phone call to a small-town coin dealer in Illinois. A man said he found an unusual 1980 penny while cleaning out his late grandfather's desk drawer. He nearly threw it away. But something stopped him. It just looked different, he said. The color? The feel. The tiniest raised line under the date. He couldn't explain why, but something told him to hold on to it. And that decision changed his life. It turned out to be a 1980 log cabin penny with no mint mark, hiding a secret minting error so rare, only a handful are known to exist. When experts examined the coin under magnification, they were floored. The surface had double dies in places never seen on 1980 cents before. The Lincoln Memorial reverse, gone. Replaced with a prototype-style log cabin design that wasn't supposed to exist in 1980. It shouldn't have been there. And yet there it was. Some believe it was the result of a test die accidentally used at the Philadelphia Mint during a shift change. Others say it could have been a rogue engraver experimenting with throwback designs to Lincoln's birthplace. Something that wouldn't appear officially until decades later in 2009. This wasn't just an error coin. It was a mystery that rewrote what we thought we knew about 1980s coinage. A major auction house agreed to list the coin. Experts were cautious. They couldn't authenticate the story, only the metal and details. By the time the bidding began, 5 different billionaire collectors had entered the race. That simple-looking penny, the kind you might ignore in your pocket, was sold for $1.50 million. One man's forgotten coin became $1 million miracle. Since that sale, 2 more 1980 log cabin pennies with no mint mark have surfaced. One was found inside a rusted coffee can. Another turned up in a yard sale coin roll. Someone bought for $1. Dealers are rushing to get their hands on this coin. But here's the thing, most people miss it. Because they're only looking at the front. This coin hides its power on the reverse side. Instead of the usual Lincoln memorial, this coin has a faint engraving of a log cabin, a nod to Lincoln's birthplace, with misaligned text and a blurry motto line that reads, E pluribus unum. Too close to the edge. If you ever see a 1980 penny with no mint mark, check the reverse for a blurry, almost ghost-like log cabin, soft, rounded letters slightly raised doubling on the date or Lincoln's shoulder, and most importantly, no visible signs of post-mint damage. Some scammers are filing down mint marks or faking reverses with acid. Real versions have deep, die-struck details, not worn or stamped by hand. And here's what most people overlook, the sound. When you drop this coin on a hard surface, it doesn't ring like zinc. It gives off a duller, heavier tone, classic pre-1982 copper. That subtle difference has helped collectors distinguish fakes from the real $1,000,000 find. So if you're holding a 1980 penny with no mint mark right now, flip it, listen closely, look at every detail. Because the next one to sell could go even higher than $1.50 million. And if you're still wondering if it's all hype, think about this. The original man who found the first one? He never even collected coins. He just cleaned out a drawer and trusted his gut. It was a quiet afternoon in rural Indiana when a retired mechanic, digging through a jar of old change on his garage shelf, spotted something strange. A 2019 Lincoln penny. Nothing rare about that, until he turned it over and saw the image of a log cabin. A design most people barely notice. But what he didn't know yet was that this one tiny cent would change his life forever. Within weeks, that penny, with no visible mint mark, became the talk of online forums. Numismatists were stunned. Experts baffled. Because this coin shouldn't exist, not like this. And yet, it was real. And it was hiding a secret. Let's rewind. The 2019 log cabin Lincoln penny, also known as part of the Lincoln Bicentennial series, was meant to celebrate the humble beginnings of one of America's most iconic presidents. Millions were minted. So why would just one of them be worth up to $1.6 million? Because of a rare, almost mythical error. A minting anomaly so subtle, most people wouldn't notice even if it passed through their hands. But this error? It's what turned an ordinary penny into a $1 million miracle. A collector in Philadelphia, a man with over 30 years of experience, confirmed what the retired mechanic only suspected. This wasn't just any 2019 penny. The absence of the mint mark wasn't a manufacturing oversight. It was a sign. A silent fingerprint from a rogue batch of coins released without full authorization. An anomaly known as a struck-through grease error, combined with a double die reverse. Dealers scrambled. Auctions fired up. Private buyers began whispering offers in the hundreds of thousands. But by the time bidding finished at a private numismatic auction in Florida, the final sale price had climbed past $1 million. Another penny surfaced. Same year. Same log cabin design. Also missing a mint mark. But this one had an even more distinct flaw, a visible raised line across Lincoln's log cabin, caused by a rare die crack. Experts called it the ghost fracture. And once again, it sold for six figures. This tiny detail is why it's worth millions, and most people miss it. You see, the average person sees a penny and shrugs. Just 1 cent, toss it in a jar. But the trained eye? The collector's eye? They see the stories hiding in plain sight. The anomalies. The secrets. The pieces of history that slipped through the cracks. And that's why this particular penny, minted in 2019 without a mint mark, bearing the log cabin reverse, is now considered one of the most shocking discoveries of the decade, because it's not just about the age. It's not about the condition alone. It's about the combination, the no mint mark, the early die state errors, the design, and how it defied normal US mint protocol. First, turn the coin over. Look at the reverse, the back. You'll see the image of a log cabin. But is there a doubling in the wood grain? Does the outline of the cabin look thicker or blurred? That might be a double die. Second, check for a mint mark. If it's completely absent, no D, no P, no S, and you know the coin didn't come from a proof set, you might be holding something special. Third, look for cracks or unusual lines across the surface. Raised lines that seem out of place? Those could be die cracks, a sign the coin was struck using a damaged die, which makes it instantly rarer. And lastly, this is crucial, flip the coin under a bright light. Watch how the surface reflects. If part of the design seems unusually smooth or flat, you might be looking at a struck-through grease error. That's when debris in the minting process causes parts of the image to vanish or appear faint. One man's pocket change became $1 million miracle. And this isn't just about luck. It's about knowing where to look. Because thousands of these pennies were minted. But only a handful carry the errors. And only a few have been found. Have you looked through the coins sitting in your kitchen drawer? The ones gathering dust in an old piggy bank? Because just one of those pennies could be hiding a secret. One tiny, forgotten coin that could change everything. And remember, these aren't just stories. These are real people. Real lives. Changed forever. From a single cent. It looks like any ordinary penny. Brown, worn, dated 1969. You'd probably ignore it if it showed up in your change from the grocery store. But hidden beneath that copper surface is a mystery, a forgotten piece of American history that's now shaking the world of coin collectors. This exact coin was discovered not in a vault or museum, but in a dusty kitchen drawer by a retired mechanic who almost gave it to his grandson for a school project. Dealers are scrambling, and the entire coin world is asking the same question: how could a penny from 1969, a coin that says D but has no visible mint mark, be worth over $1 million? It all begins with the log cabin design. In 2009, the U.S. Mint released a series of pennies to honor Abraham Lincoln's 200th birthday. One of those designs, the log cabin reverse, became iconic. But here's the twist: some collectors believe a small batch of these reverse dies were misused. Way back in 1969. The official story says the log cabin reverse wasn't introduced until 2009. And yet, a few mysterious coins have surfaced showing a 1969 obverse, Lincoln's portrait, but with a reverse that appears eerily similar to the 2009 log cabin design. These coins should not exist. And because of that, they're now considered one of the most valuable Lincoln cent anomalies of all time. In late 2023, a private auction in Chicago unveiled something extraordinary. A man, who wished to remain anonymous, brought in a 1969 penny he found while cleaning out his late father's coin jar. It looked strange, no mint mark. A slightly off-centered strike. But on the back, where the Lincoln Memorial should have been, was the unmistakable silhouette of a log cabin, not a reproduction, not a novelty, but struck somehow by a genuine U.S. Mint die. Auctioneers were baffled. Grading experts called in backup. One dealer reportedly flew in overnight from New York just to examine the coin under a microscope. Not only was this 1969 D penny without a mint mark, it also showed die characteristics that matched early prototype versions of the 2009 reverse. Bidding opened at $10,000, and within 90 seconds, it passed $100,000.2 bidders, both veteran collectors with deep pockets, entered a silent war. And when the gavel finally fell, the room was dead silent. One man's pocket change became $1 million miracle. But this isn't just a story of luck. It's a story of awareness. Because this exact coin could still be out there, right now. In a piggy bank, a coffee can, or buried in your car's cup holder. It must read 1969. Plain and clear. Some versions show a D beneath the date, others do not. But here's the catch: even those marked with a D may be missing the actual mint mark imprint due to a striking error. Look carefully. Instead of the Lincoln Memorial, you're looking for a log cabin design on the reverse. If it matches the 2009 design almost exactly, but is dated 1969, you may be holding the rare hybrid error. Collectors have noticed that many of these rare hybrids show doubling on the words, Liberty, or In God We Trust. That's what we call a double die error. If the lettering looks fuzzy or layered, that could be your jackpot clue. Is it off center? Slightly thicker on one side. That might be a misalignment, another indicator of mint error. And here's the most important detail: if the coin feels slightly different in weight or texture, don't ignore it. Some of these error coins were struck on leftover planchets, possibly even intended for foreign currency, which makes them lighter or thinner. Most people overlook these signs. But you won't. Because now, you know the secret. The man who sold his 1969 penny for $1.7 million didn't find it in a safe. He found it in a pile of forgotten change. What's sitting in your junk drawer? What if the coin that could change your life forever is already in your hands? This is more than just metal and copper. This is about paying attention. Because this exact penny could be sitting in your drawer right now, and it's worth over $1 million. That's right. What looked like an ordinary penny from 2008, a coin millions of people glanced at and tossed aside, turned out to be a life-changing treasure for one unsuspecting collector. It wasn't flashy. No shine. No silver or gold. Just a humble copper-colored penny with no mint mark, and a design that almost nobody noticed. But behind this quiet little coin hides one of the most mysterious and shocking stories in modern coin collecting. Now, if you've ever seen a 2009 penny series, you might be thinking of Lincoln's bicentennial coins. But this is different. The coin in question was struck in 2008, a year before the official Lincoln bicentennial release. So how did a log cabin end up on a 2008 penny? Collectors believe this coin was the result of a forgotten test strike, a prototype or accidental early issue. Some even whisper that it might have been a misdated transitional error, meant for 2009 but struck and released a year too early. Either way, this penny wasn't supposed to exist. It showed up quietly, tucked inside a roll of pennies purchased from a small-town bank in rural Indiana. The man who found it, he almost missed it entirely. He was searching for wheat pennies when he saw a coin with a design he didn't recognize. At first, he thought it was fake. The date said 2008, but the design was unmistakably that of Lincoln's log cabin. He posted a photo online, and what happened next stunned the entire coin world. Within hours, collectors, dealers, even former mint employees were swarming the post. Some claimed it was a minting test accidentally released. Others believed it was a mule error, where two mismatched dies were used in the press. And a few experts, they stayed quiet. Silent. Like they knew something the rest of US didn't. 5,000, 10,000, 20. Within days, the price had climbed over six figures. And by the end of the week, the final bid landed just shy of $1.8 million. One man's pocket change became $1 million miracle. It's all about the mystery. The secrecy. The fact that no one, not even the US Mint, has officially confirmed its origin. Some insiders claim the design was struck using a 2009 reverse on a 2008 planchet, possibly by mistake. Others believe it's a deliberate test piece that was never meant to be released. But there's one tiny detail that makes all the difference. Most 2008 pennies carry a D or a P beneath the date, Denver or Philadelphia. But this coin has nothing. Just a blank space where a mint mark should be. That omission is what elevates it from rare to legendary. Dealers are still trying to find more examples. So far? Just one confirmed. A few rumored sightings. But no official count. Think about that. Out of the billions of pennies in circulation, this one quietly slipped through. Past machines, past inspectors, past the public. It could have ended up in a parking meter, a vending machine, a child's piggy bank. Another collector claims to have found a similar coin, but with a double die error on the date. The numbers, 2008, appear to be slightly doubled under magnification. And if that coin is real, its value could eclipse even the first one. We're talking well over $1 million, and no one knows how many are out there. Could be 5. Could be 1. Could be you. Start by checking every 2008 penny you find. Flip it over. If you see a log cabin on the reverse and no mint mark on the obverse, pause. That's your first red flag. Next, look closely at the date. Is there any doubling? Any unusual spacing? Finally, hold the coin at an angle. Does the surface look slightly different than other pennies? A different texture, color, or strike depth? Don't clean it. Don't scratch it. Don't polish it. That could destroy the value instantly. Keep it safe. Use gloves if possible. And get it professionally appraised by a trusted coin grading service like PCGS or NGC. Just imagine, one day you're digging through a junk drawer or counting out change at the grocery store, and the next, you're holding the key to early retirement. A tiny copper coin that turns your world upside down. Collectors are calling it the ghost penny. A coin that shouldn't exist, but does. And if this story teaches us anything, it's this: even in a world full of modern technology and digital payments, a single old penny can still change someone's life forever.